We are very pleased to introduce our final keynote speaker of ISTE 2016.
She is a very special classroom educator, near and dear to the heart of ISTE. A third grade teacher in London, Ontario, Michelle Cordy and her students spend their time in the classroom devising solutions and overcoming obstacles while transforming education for future students.
Michelle has accomplished a number of achievements, including becoming an Apple Distinguished Educator, a Google Certified Innovator, and earning a Master's in Education in Mathematics and Science Education.
An applied researcher, Michelle's focus is on mathematics education, technology integration, and the social aspects of the internet. She engages in classroom-based research with partners from academic institutions as well as industry partners.
She began teaching in 2001 and has taught grades 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8 during her career. She's also taught in college and university teacher education programs.
All right, let's hear what Michelle has to say about the future of education and learn what it really means to hack the classroom.
To show up to our place in education, the classroom, the school, the district, the organization, the company, where we can make our greatest contribution, and we need to show up to that place and refuse to leave. And there is no better time or moment than right now, as we're winding down this amazing experience, to recommit to that place. There is nowhere I would rather be than with you right now, except maybe one place. I have to tell you that today is a very special day for me because I have the pleasure of speaking to you, my friends, but it is also the last day of school. And at this very moment, don't do that. That will be bad for me. At this very moment, literally, in London, Ontario, Canada, these people are putting on their backpacks and they're going home. But I'm here today because I've shown up to this place for them. I believe that education has this tremendous power to teach us about who we are and about our place in the world. And I want to do that for my students, and I know that you do too. And I have a hero that has inspired me on this journey to do just that, to take students beyond the walls of the classroom, to take chances and make mistakes. And she's also a third grade teacher, just like me. Maybe she's your hero too. Yeah. Don't you want a magic school bus? Yes. And in fact, I wanted a magic school bus. And on September 10th, 2012, I got my wish, or the next best thing. In 2012, I secured funding for a research project to investigate the integration of iPads, and my classroom went one-to-one, but be careful what you wish for. Because I was the only one, I couldn't go across the hall and be like, hey, what are you doing with your magic school bus? I was a bit of a rogue teacher on my own. So I read some books about how we as humans might step into the internet and into that space and connect with other humans, and how I might help my students to do that. And so I found Howard Rheingold, an elder of the internet, one of the first people to step into the digital space and see its potential for good and for cooperation. And I read his book, NetSmart. And as you do, you write on your blog. So I went directly to my blog, and I wrote something quite clever, as you do, or you hope you do, and then I tweeted out, "Thanks for writing NetSmart. Seriously helpful. Your comments would mean the world." And I took this message in a bottle, and I cast it out into the ocean of the internet, and I hoped for a response, but I didn't actually think that I would get one. I said something, and it spoke back. No way! Massive thank you, Howard Rheingold, for commenting. Notice the date? Pretty good Christmas gift. And moments later, this.
That's how it works, Michelle.
Oh boy, now it was really talking to me. I had made a contribution and I had been acknowledged for that contribution. I had been seen and I had been heard. Everybody gasped. That's how I felt. I wanted that experience for my students. And Howard Rheingold has become a mentor of mine. And yes, he's come into my classroom through Connected Learning TV, and he's interviewed my students about what they do. In fact, he would love to come into your classrooms too and make your students feel like they are seen and heard. So I had a grand vision of what I wanted to accomplish with technology. I wanted my students to be seen and heard in the classroom and beyond. But thank you for turning on the house lights. I can see you. I had a problem. I had a grand vision, but I had a today problem, and I had a tomorrow problem, and I came to you. I came to my friends. I came to this community to solve a problem of what I was actually going to do with those iPads on Monday. Because you know I didn't have anybody that I could turn to in my district, and they were watching me. They were like, she got a really big grant. She better do something cool, and I'm like, I will. So this is my best hack, really, being on this stage, because when I came to conferences, I only ever wanted to hear from you. I only wanted to be able to sneak in and hear what you had to say. So today, I would like to offer you the things that I have learned from ISTE and from the educational community. The first thing I've learned, and you know this, and you live it and breathe it every day, it's about being a connected educator, right? We say this loud and proud all the time, the importance of being online and helping one another out. But I think we can take it further. Now, there's something very special about this community. It's like a diamond to me. It's so precious. And coming to ISTE is like putting on an oxygen mask and breathing in, and you feel like you're with your people. Am I right? Yes, your people are here. We can clap that out. What a nice way for you to show appreciation to your other people. But going home can be tough. Raise your, you're allowed to take, it's pathetic. The one on the far left is particularly pathetic, and that is my very first ISTE, where I felt like I was Cinderella dancing at the ball, and then bibbidi bobbidi boo, I was back on a plane, ugly crying. Raise your hand if this is your first ISTE. Oh! Oh, don't worry. Those are the photos from other ISTEs, the past 3 in a row. It gets better. There won't be so much ugly crying after this, I promise. But there's something fundamentally special here that doesn't always exist at home. So how do we bring this energy, this feeling of breathing in an oxygen mask home? So I asked Howard Rheingold that question. I said, why is it, Howard, that one group of people can do something that another group of similar people cannot? And he said, you should read this book, Connected, by Nicholas Christakis. And Nicholas Christakis says 3 things. Number 1, the shape of the network matters. You see here a bunch of diagrams of differently shaped social networks. Number 2, we shape our networks. And number 3, our networks shape us. So it's an interesting thing, this first point, the shape matters. And in nature, in fact, the shape matters. Let's take 2 different substances. Let's take graphite and diamond. You chemistry teachers in the room, you know this. These are actually made of the same fundamental element, which is carbon. But you see, carbon organized as graphite, the particles are bonded together in sheets, and as you drag your pencil across the page, you shear off a layer of graphite. The properties that emerge from the way that's structured makes that particular graphite dark and soft. But the properties that emerge when carbon is bonded together differently and more tightly yield something that we give much more value to and that has completely different properties that emerge. This helps us understand the idea of why some groups of people are able to do things that other groups are not. So let's take a random group of dots. Let's believe that these dots are people, teachers. Let's say that they're trying to get a job done, maybe putting out a fire, and each one of them is running to the water source, scooping up a pail of water, and running to the fire and putting it out. Are they going to be able to put out that fire? Not really. But let's change the structure. We're not going to change the component parts. We're just going to change how these people are bonded together. All of a sudden, we have a bucket brigade, a line of people that can pass the buckets back and forth. Are these people going to be able to get that fire out much better? Yes. The structure matters, but we don't really want to put out fires in education, though we do. We want to do something different. So what happens when just a few people, instead of being connected to the teacher on your left and the teacher on your right, what if we make just a few more connections? And what if there's people like you in that network? What if there are connected educators that reach out to people they don't normally speak to, that do the good work of introducing your friends? Because when your friends are better connected, you are better connected. And now we have an amazing thing, a small world. And it turns out that these small worlds have really unique properties. And ISTE is this special small world where good ideas pass. And in fact, ISTE is many small worlds, because within this group, there are the librarians, there are the STEM people, artists, and all of us are connected and we share ideas in this diamond network. We are a group of people that is able to do something other groups of similar people are not yet. So go home and continue to be a connected educator and build these diamond networks at home, and then no sad selfies. So through these small worlds, something special happens, and it's called 6 degrees. Small worlds, or a small world phenomenon, says that we are all connected by approximately 6 degrees of connection. So me, I am connected to every single person here today. I have a friend who has a friend who has a friend who has a friend who has a friend who knows you. And you are connected, look around, to every single person. So through these networks, we can push our ideas forward. We can focus on branding and getting those ideas out there, but ooh, that's a lot of work. If only there was a more potent, more powerful way for us to spread our good ideas. There is. These small worlds also have this yummy thing called 3 degrees. And by 3 degrees, I have a friend who has a friend who has a friend. Ideas pass contagiously. Your political views, whether you have lost or gained weight, your effectiveness at work, your happiness. People I don't even know have a huge impact on me. We shape our networks, but our networks shape us. What does that mean for this community? Though we could put our energy into branding and pushing our ideas through this network, I think we would actually be better served on 2 things: the relationships, introducing friends, making new connections, tightening our network, expanding our network, and the good work. And then that will naturally flow through these small worlds here and at home, and those ideas will naturally flow to us. Diamond networks.
That's how it works, Michelle.
I get it. That's how it works. Howard Rheingold, elder of the internet. So I learned that it's important to be a connected educator, but we need to go further. We need to bring this home, and we need to expand and tighten our network. The next thing that I have learned from this community is our incredible ability and passion to engage and empower. And I think we can do something even greater than that. We engage with technologies with our heartfelt best desire to help students bring out the best learning in the classroom. And we empower. But is there more? First, before I get to the more, I would like to show you some examples from my classroom. This first one is Noah and Daniel, and they are racing toy cars on different surfaces to learn about friction. We've now taken the class outside, and we're looking how these toy cars run on pavement. Listen for Daniel's laugh near the end. Check it out.
Help me. Hold this. Okay. Okay, let's put it on the ground. That's the ball. 123 centimeters. It was 123 centimeters. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. And he's like, this is hilarious. He's so engaged. Now, you may have noticed that he's wearing a GoPro camera, a point of view camera, and it's on a junior chesty. It's mounted right on his chest. When I take that video home and edit it, and I'm in my quiet home with my headphones, I can hear his heartbeat. So we have this incredible way where we engage our students and we continue our own engagement as educators. And we in this community do such an amazing job of adding these layers and all this texture to the classroom and to schools to engage students. And an amazing example of that is Breakout EDU that brings this escape room experience to the classroom. Yeah, you're into that? Checked out the bus this week. And there are so many different things, all the things that you're doing to add this texture, this element of engagement to the classroom. And the reason that we engage and empower students is we give them power tools, whether it's a saw or a soldering iron or an iPad or a Chromebook. We go, hey kid, I'm gonna help you use this safely and I'm gonna help you use this. And they go, really, me? I'm a grade 3 kid. And we go, yeah. So my students built these really cool bridges with Spheros, and they use they use Jinxwood. Can you imagine a bridge built with Spheros? That'd be expensive. Sphero would be like, that's not what we meant you to do with that product. The teacher would be like, oh my gosh, that glue gun, why? They didn't do that. They did this instead. So check it out. So it's too steep for him, isn't it? Driving from there?
X target. They did it. Oh my god. Oh my god.
More power, more power, more power.
Okay. This one. Press this one. Okay. 3. No, use the thing.
Did you see what they did at the end there? So my idea of that lesson was that we were going to build bridges and test the drivability with Sphero going from desk to desk. And then the space opens up when you start to engage and empower kids. And they're like, no, Miss Cordy, what we really want to do is we want to make like a giant marble run of all of them together. And you're like, cool, let's try that. So these neat things happen. In this next clip that I want to show you, my students are becoming empowered because they're seeing themselves in the curriculum, and they're using technology to explore and make their thinking visible.
Whoa! I think we're now after Lyndon. Look, I found a clue! Whoa, look! Everyone take a picture. Yeah. Here. What? Okay. Now, I want to keep showing. You already got I want to take I think it's red. I don't think we should have the bark on the curve.
Not only can our students make their thinking visible, but I as a classroom teacher can make my thinking visible to my students. So I can use technology to bring my students into the narrative. Check this out. Let's have a look at this opening sentence. You have when, which is on Monday, check. You say where you went, Ontario, check. And you said who you went with, Finn and Jerry and you. Also, we need an uppercase W for the next sentence. We went to the airport. So we use technology in all these ways to engage and empower. I'll show you one more example. I live in London, Ontario, Canada, where it's very hot in the summer and very cold in the winter. And as part of our structures unit, we decided that we would use recycled Christmas trees to create dens, to create shelter for the kindergarten kids out on the yard. We documented the building of these, again, with the GoPro point of view camera. And here, I assigned a hero of the day that goes around asking kids what their plan is.
Hello, people. What is your plan? What is your plan? We don't know. We did not talk this through. We have not made a plan.
I don't know, guys. Let's think about it. Is it going to stand up to the keep the kids warm?
Yeah, I think
Kindergarten's fit. Do you think we could get a couple candies to test it out? Sure, we can.
Yeah. Can I get my little cousin? Can I get my little Do you guys like it? Yeah. It's squishy and it's warm. No, it's gonna pull for your neck. I want it. Hello back there. Hello back there.
Thanks. You do it too. You do or you facilitate things like this in classrooms. And it's amazing because we open up this space where children can literally see themselves in the curriculum. And did you catch Kobe? Can I get my little cousin? And we help them at school to form these diamond networks. What I've realized is that, I'm a teacher, a grade 3 teacher, full-time in a publicly funded system in London, Ontario, Canada, which means that I have a lot to be accountable to, as I know you do too. I have a curriculum that I have to follow. I have to be accountable to parents through communication and report cards. We prepare for provincial testing in the month of May, and I have to get my students ready for doing that testing. But here's the thing, is once you've taken care of those must-dos, we can actually open up this really big space where we can do a lot of great learning. And I think that's the space that we need to carve out for ourselves and for each other. And in that space, we can just make stuff. Yeah, and we can just make stuff up. Yeah, we can do that. And I think that's a really kid-friendly way of saying we can be creative. And you've seen, I'm sure, the most popular TED Talk, most viewed TED Talk of all time, Sir Ken Robinson, and he has this to say about creativity in schools. That we are educated out of creativity, and we believe this is an issue. But before we were educated out of creativity, I wonder if first we're educated out of something else. I wonder if we've been educated out of mindfulness, out of the sense of living in the here and now and be able to step into the space and see things in novel and interesting ways. So I want you now to think of the second most popular TED Talk of all time, Amy Cuddy's work, Presence. And if you would you try something with me, please? Would you stand up and would you take a moment to throw your hands up above your head in victory? Thank you. And while you're doing, oh, you look up, yes, you got here. Yes. And now you're like, now that I'm up, are you gonna make me hold this? Yes, I am. You could also take this position, and when you're power posing, Amy Cuddy's research shows that two interesting things happen in these poses. That is that your testosterone levels go up. That means that you feel like you're more able to show up, and your testosterone levels not only go up, your cortisol levels go down, and she found this in saliva samples. Keep holding these great poses. And the opposite, don't do it now, but the opposite of a powerful pose is a powerless pose. You hold the power one, but I'll model the powerless pose. When we round in, we close off. And you know what happens in these powerless poses is that our cortisol levels go up and we feel more stressed, and our testosterone levels go down. Now, there is some controversy in the psychology research world because people have not been able to replicate the saliva samples, but the behavioral effect is strong. People who power pose for 2 minutes are found to be more charismatic in interviews. People who power pose for 2 minutes before an interview also report that they are more able to bring their best self forward. Thank you. You're beautiful. And now you've had a good supercharge, right? Yeah, you're feeling ready to show up and refuse to leave. So I want us to make a connection between power posing and the classroom. what does it mean what are the body poses, what do our bodies tell our mind in the classroom? So I'll give you a hint. There is a connection in Amy Cuddy's research between the devices that we use and power posing. So here's my first hint to you. The different power poses are reflected in the different devices. Can you guess what the relationship might be? How about now? The connection is that if you use a larger device, you're more likely to be in this powerful, expansive body position. Whereas if you work off of a smaller device, it's very likely that you tend to round in and fold over. And so I think we have to wonder, as you probably sat down and took up your devices again, I wonder if you just rolled into a powerless pose. And if that's the case, what does that mean for how you're feeling about yourself? What does that mean for your capacity to stand forward and accomplish great things? A little note back to Dr. Benjamin's talk, there's actually another piece of Amy Cuddy's research that ties this back to gender. You see, when school-aged children in grade 1 were shown pictures of these wooden mannequins, children, 7 years old, were more likely to ascribe a male gender to the power poses and a female gender to the powerless poses. And I think in that way, I'd like to refer back to Dr. Benjamin's work and say, you know, maybe we need to change the code here on the body language that we ascribe and the gender that we present each day and in our students. So I really have been inspired by this idea of how the body affects the mind in terms of this mindfulness piece. And so I reached out to a researcher at Western University where I live, and we wanted to conduct a little bit of research in this area. You see, there is a tremendous body of research in psychology that clearly shows that breathing and yoga and posture have an incredible impact on the mind. But there's very little research, especially in the classroom, to show that there's any effect on children, until now. So, okay, the educator in me really hates definitions because the educator in me is like a definition is no shortcut to learning. But the researcher in me says, girl, you've got to define your terms. So the first line in our peer-reviewed paper is this, and I am going to start with a definition of mindfulness. So I'll let you read through that, and then I'm going to share with you my study. Sounds researchy. I read it in my head and I'm like, contemporary research conceptualizes mindfulness. Like, did any of you have that same voice that I just had? Right. The key here is that mindfulness is is being aware of yourself in the moment to moment in a non-judgmental, non-reactive way. So what we did is we had two groups, a control group and a mindfulness group. And first we presented them with Sam. Sam is the self-assessment mannequin. On the far left of the screen, you see Sam. He's kind of wiggly. His stomach is exploding, and he's really excited. He's nervous. He might be scared, and he's wide awake. On the other side, you have Sam, and his eyes are closed, and he's very peaceful and calm. He's almost sleepy. So we'd say to kids, choose the Sam that feels how you feel right now, and the data we were collecting was on their current level of arousal. And then those two groups, one of those group, the experimental group, did some mindfulness practices. So we did animal-inspired yoga poses, and then we sat quietly and breathed like a frog. Whereas the control group was engaged in quiet coloring or building Lego for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. Following that, they did another SAM and indicated their level of arousal. So I'm going to share with you the results, but before I show you this graph, please note that a higher score indicates a lower level of arousal. So the mindfulness group is in dark gray, and we had significant findings that show that after only 10 minutes, the students reported that they were less aroused and more calm, whereas the control group stayed about the same. So this is the first time in this field that there's been findings that support in the classroom that only a 10-minute intervention has such positive outcomes. The other research that has been done has much longer interventions, like weeks and weeks and weeks. And fun news, I just found out from Dr. Elizabeth Hayden this morning that this paper, this preliminary research, has actually been funded to do more work. So I'm really excited about that and continuing next year. Yeah, thank you. The next thing I want to show you, this is Ellen Langer's work. So you're like, 10 minutes, Cordy? That's still too long. Ellen Langer is like, wants more action more quickly, and she actually thinks that the mind influences the body. She says this: it's not primarily our physical selves that limit us, but rather our mindsets about our physical limits. And she's done amazing research with seniors and with chambermaids, and also with an eye chart to show you that your mindset can change your body. Let's do one now. Please look at this eye chart. This is exactly what Dr. Langer did with her participants, brought them into a lab and said, look at this eye chart. How far down can you see? What Ellen Langer realized in this eye chart is that it tells a story. As you get lower on the eye chart, it's saying, hey, pretty soon you're not going to be able to see very well. And that mindset we believe. So what she did is she flipped the eye chart and changed the mindset. Now the story, the code, as Dr. Benjamin would call it, is that soon you will be able to see. And while nothing had changed in the anatomy of the eyes of her participants, guess what? People were able to see things they weren't previously able to see. Everybody gasp. Oh, I know. So it's this amazing thing where there are different things in society that tell us a story, and that story might not be true. I think an easy way of remembering this is this saying: real, but not true. You see, something that's real is a story that we tell ourselves, or a story that society tells us that gets in the way of us living our best truth. And what I think Dr. Benjamin would have called this is a code, and we need to rewrite that code so we avoid believing these stories that send us into a vicious cycle. But I tell you, we can also tell ourselves stories that are real to us, that become true, and we can enter into a virtuous cycle as well. For example, this happened to me. This is a photograph that my husband shot while I was away at a conference. And you'll notice it's addressed to me, and it says, teacher, comma, applied researcher. And it says, you are what you decide you are. You see, 10 years ago, I realized that I love the classroom, but I love research, and nobody was doing both, not that I knew of. So I'm like, I'm going to do both. I am an applied researcher. So every single time I had to fill out one of those things like, what is your job? I'd write, teacher, applied researcher. And one day, I got mail, proof. So you can tell yourself this story, and you can live it into existence, and you can bring your best self forward. I have now 10 years past that story that was only real to me, and now I have over 10 publications to my name, and as you heard, my research is going to continue. So we can enter into these virtuous cycles where we can breathe our dreams into reality. That is something I've learned from this community, our incredible ability to engage and empower. But I think that what we need to focus on next is how do we bring about a greater sense of mindfulness for ourselves and for our students, and tie back this notion that we've split of body and mind and bring it back together. The last thing that I've learned from this community, and I've just been bitten by this bug, is our incredible desire to disrupt, to transform, redefine, and hack. So much so that I called my blog Hack the Classroom, and my husband created me this neon sign, and if you look at it for too long, it like literally burns your retinas. and I just thought this was the best thing, and I really felt a synchronicity with this idea. I really felt like it connected with me. And don't you love that feeling of synchronicity? Like when you and a friend say the exact same thing at the exact same moment? Or maybe that feeling of falling in sync when you're driving and you notice that the car lights are blinking on and off, and all of a sudden they come into sync. So let's look at this right now. Look at these two cars, and as you can see, the lights are out of sync. But when they come into synchronicity, I want you to yell, yes, yes, yes. Can we do it again? It's out of sync, out of sync. Oh, that was so good. And that feeling of being in sync is a lot like the feeling of being in love. And I think that we need to fall in and out of sync in and out of love with our ideas. We need to believe our ideas with the full force of everything we've got by day, and then by night, we need to go, ooh, is that really working for me? And we need to believe our friends' ideas with our whole hearts by day. But by night, we need to say, is that working for you? Is it taking you where you want to go? Are you making your greatest contribution? Because if we don't, we risk building up some rigid dogma that somebody else is going to want to disrupt. So I have to tell you that actually, until I heard Dr. Benjamin's talk, I was falling a little bit out of love with this idea of Hack the Classroom. You see, I felt like it was a little bit adversarial. It was a little bit too aggressive and fighty. You see, I was like, I'm gonna hack it, I'm gonna change it. And you know, when somebody refers to me as a classroom teacher, as a frontline worker, or the work that I do is in the trenches, it makes me so uncomfortable. I do not like those war analogies. Who am I at war with? I tell you, it's not the kids. It's not. So I wonder if taking on this feeling of disruption is really serving this community's best interests. Now I have to say that I'm actually falling a little back in love with Hack the Classroom because it represents mastery, creativity, and collaboration, and those 3 words were one of 3 of many gifts in the keynote yesterday. So I think we should fall in and out of love with our ideas. I feel that in this community, it might be best for us to move from disruption to stewardship. Because education's not broken, and I'm not here to fix it. It's an ecosystem. And ecosystems don't break. We need to be stewards, and I think we need to use the ultimate technology of love and care to do our best work. And don't you think that if we do, it will be more inclusive to people beyond the ISTE community, beyond EdTech, that will want to join us instead of feeling like they're being pushed away. Now, Miss Frizzle, how do I feel about her? Have I fallen in or out of love? Well, a bit of both, because I realized that she's a bit of a rogue teacher, and that she really did act alone. And also, I have some questions about the safety in her classroom.
Seatbelts, everyone!
That's right, Arnold. They'll try to destroy us.
Destroy us?
This bus is condemned.
Take chances. Make mistakes.
Yeah, take chances. Take chances, make mistakes. Yeah, buckle your seatbelts because every single episode she nearly killed her kids. And going back to that disruption notion, what happens to the kids in my classroom today? What happens when I'm trying to disrupt? The thing is that I give up their being at the expense of their becoming. I give up what they're doing right today, and I risk the classroom space that is so sacred that I so love to be in. And you know, if you're too much of a disruptor, you're gonna get your stuff shut down. I don't know if you noticed, but in that video is the gentleman, like the one you see here in the green suit, that's Miss Frizzle's principal. Oh yeah, he's the guy that shuts that thing down. And that does happen to us. When we take on a little too much angst and a little bit too much aggression and a little bit too much pushing, I think we risk getting in our own way. And I think that's why we need to move from this notion of disruption to this more softened, but still so passionate perspective of stewardship. These are really the things that I've learned from this community. And I'm so grateful to you that you've shared this with me and that I've been able to listen to you and that these are the things that I've taken away. And these are the things that I think we might be able to move to in the next days, weeks, months, and even years. You see, fundamentally, I believe that all the pieces exist in education right now for education to work really, really well. We just need to start putting things together in different ways. And you are the leaders that are going to do exactly that. So before I bid you farewell, I hope it's okay, but I'd really like to say goodbye to my students too. Goodbye, Aislinn, Brooklyn. Goodbye, Dennis. I get to teach Dennis, his little brother Andy, next year. And Andy, Dennis and Andy, I'm going to continue to be a connected educator, and I'm going to expand my network, and I'm going to help you do the same. Goodbye, Kobe. I'm going to continue to engage and empower students. And when I get to teach your little cousin that was so excited that you wanted so badly to show the den to, when I get to teach your little cousin, I'm also going to have this really good practice of mindfulness that just naturally flows into my classroom. And Spencer, you little hockey-playing Grom, I'm not going to disrupt your daily school life. I'm going to be a steward. Goodbye, May. And Eakin, I'm going to miss you so much. And I'm going to miss you too, Logan. Oh my God, I just had like a flashback of like so many Logan moments. Like I think we went through like a whole thing of wipes, like just cleaning up what happens around Logan. But I think I might miss him most though, because you know what, talk about a story that's real and not true. There are stories that our students come with that are written in their heart, that their own hearts, that they've bought into, that school might be telling them. And we need to rewrite those stories that those kids packaged with. I can't believe how fast this conference has gone, and I can't believe how fast the school year has gone. And you know, I think that we need to play a long game on a short track. And that short track can be a 45-minute period. It could be a school day. It could be a school year. It could be a life. And we need to have this long game, this vision of what we want to achieve in education. And then we need to get our friends to help us with the little things in between. We have to play a long game on a short track. And today, as I bid you farewell, as you're packing up to leave, I hope that you recommit to the place in education where you can make your greatest contribution. You need to recommit to that place, and it's easy to do it right now. It's easy to do it when we're here and when you're with your friends and when you feel seen and heard, but going home can be tough. Recommit right now, and I want you to show up to the place in education where you can make your greatest contribution and refuse to leave. Thank you so much.
Ready? All right, right here. Here we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Michelle Cordy, everybody.